Zdravo everybody, and welcome back to the mean streets of Niš, Serbia. It's day 2, I'm up early, it's like 8 in the morning, and we're headed to a place called Anton for the national breakfast dish of Serbia. We are then going to head to the southern city of Leskovac, which is very close to the Macedonian border, to see what life is like in a small Serbian city. Maybe we're gonna eat some food there too. So today's a food-filled day, let's do it. So Niš is certainly what they consider an eater's town here in Serbia. It's filled with a lot of good restaurants. So I'm taking to Pekara Anton. This is apparently the most famous place to eat BUREK in the city. There's always a line. So let's check it out. I think any good video in Serbia is going to start with a Slavic squatting food review. So, here we go. I'm a big BUREK connoisseur. If you know me, it's probably one of my favorite foods. So, if anyone is qualified to tell you if this is the spot to go when you come to Niš, it's gonna be me. Ooh, wow, they doubled down here. So, the cool part about BUREK is it originally comes from the Turks, I believe. You know, sometimes they say it was invented here in the Balkans, but you can find it anywhere the Ottoman Empire was. It's an amazing thing. It's a phyllo pastry, and then inside you have just this beautiful mix of cheese, and it almost turns into like noodles. So you guys can see here, the BUREK. It's very hot, you know? Very excited about it. Let's give it a shot. Oh. Oh my God. Holy shit. I've had a lot of BUREK in my life, but you know what? I'm gonna say, shout out to this restaurant. This might be maybe the best one I've ever had, at least for this style. This is called suboregi. So they make it in layers, and it's just wonderful. It's like gooey on the inside. The cheese is nice and melted. It must have just come out of the oven. They flip probably, you know, at least probably 50 to 100 of these per day if they're really, really busy. They give you a nice portion for sure. And this is unreal, my God. Normally I'm a big doubter of when people say you need to go to this restaurant, this is the best one, and especially when tourists say it, but yeah, they got me. They got me. That's the best BUREK I've had in the Balkans. I don't even think it's comparable, to be honest with you. Delicious. That's what I'm gonna call Balkan adventure fuel. That's also the way you get fat in the Balkans. Real talk. All right, so about a 50-minute ride later, we end up in the real Serbia. We are in a city called Leskovac, which is about an hour south of Niš, not a tourist city. If you're ever curious what life in the former Yugoslav Republic of Serbia is, I think this is it. The cool part here in the city, they all have fresh tap water that's drinkable, that everyone has access to. It's a nice thing. Let's go get really Yugoslav. Let's do it. So it seems like the main drags of these Serbian cities, they all have these kind of older buildings that were built in the early 1900s. And then, you know, all this stuff popped up around it. One interesting thing that I've seen in Serbia is there's always really big lines for the bank. You see this in a lot of countries with cash-based economies, and a lot of people get their paychecks at the start of the month, so they have to wait online for like a really long time, which is unfortunate. Oh, good church. Smaller towns in the Balkans all have a few things in common, and let me tell you about them. So, one, they are quite religious. And what you will see is lots of people actually going to the church to pray almost daily. If you pop by anytime, you'll see people doing the very orthodox hand signals when they see the church, and people popping by doing their thing. Number two, you'll see a lot of old people. A lot of the smaller cities in Eastern Europe are basically being left by all of the younger people. This is a big problem. It's called brain drain. It's also called sometimes like workforce loss. And this is just due to the fact that there's not a lot of high-paying jobs in these smaller cities. So a lot of the younger people decide to just get out of here, move to Belgrade or move to Sofia, Bulgaria, or move to Western Europe to pursue a life where they can actually make money. Number three, what you'll see are Ottoman style buildings. This is actually a beautiful one. In the city center here, you can see that the top layer is a bit, you know, a jut or a bit above the bottom layer. And that is a very typical style Ottoman thing. I'm not exactly sure why that one is here, but it is beautiful nonetheless. The last thing that you're gonna see when you come to any small Balkan state kind of city is a big diversity in housing, depending on how much money people have, whether it's these smaller houses that are more historic, actually in a very beautiful style, zdravo, and the very typical Yugoslav block houses. What you'll also see, if you're not so lucky to be living in a place like this, are bombed out houses that are either destroyed, for one, by the NATO bombings of the early 2000s, just like this, or two, that fell apart during an earthquake. This part of the Balkans does get earthquakes, so a lot of stuff, depending on how old the houses are, fall apart. If your family doesn't have the money, it's not getting fixed, and it's gonna stay there like that for the next 50 years. An interesting thing that you would never see probably in the United States, except if you were, you know, looking through a newspaper, are obituaries for people who have died through the church here. This is a really common thing here in the Balkans, and they typically put an announcement with the person's name. Stojilkovic Vukadinoy? That's a very interesting, Vukadinoy, interesting name. And you can see when he died, and you can see his picture. Typically in Orthodox Christianity, they always, even on the tombstones, they always have pictures, which is cool, and the pictures are very important for the memory of the person here. They've been doing it for a very, very long time. I have to say, guys, I am really pleasantly surprised by this city. They have a whole bunch of beautiful old houses here, and this is a really good example. We're in the food area now, and a really good example of kind of what you would find in a traditional small kind of city. You have your Pekara, place where you get your bread. You have another place to get bread. You have the mesada, a place to get meat, and you have a pharmacy. You have pretty much everything you would need. A light bulb store. But the place we're going is the farmer's market. Let's go see what kind of local products they've got here in this little city. Some beautiful breads. And one thing I absolutely love about southern Serbia so far, that every place I go, they have these big open grills where you can always see what they're making. This one isn't active right now, but normally they're full, and they smell pretty damn good. Cheese store. I'm gonna have to assume this place is normally much more full than all of these empty stands because it's Monday, and I'm sure this is more of a Sunday situation. But I love the outdoor market thing. They have this in every big city in Serbia, and probably people from the entire region come to this one to buy their fresh produce for the week. Zdravo. What's cool about the markets here is they're super local. Besides the bananas, everything else they're getting in fresh. So they've got apricots, nectarines, lots of tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, cucumbers, tomati, and of course cabbage. It's great. Zdravo. For me, this is just about as interesting as Uzbekistan, but with way less diverse ingredients. But it's kind of cool that all of this stuff here is coming more or less locally. But I do have to say, the future of market culture does worry me a bit, especially in countries like this, because the average age of people here is probably over 50, vendors and buyers. There's a few kids, but really not that many. But these markets are really important to the local economy of this city and this region. I like this town. I think it's got a real faded glory quality about it. They have these really pretty old, early 19th century buildings, maybe 20th century buildings, and they're in disrepair, just like what you would normally find in the majority of, I'd just say the ex-Yugoslav area. But there is a charm to it because people are still living here, actively working here, doing their thing, enjoying the day out, drinking coffee in Rakia at like, you know, 7 or 8 in the morning. It's nice, I like it. Maybe the best thing about the Balkans for me, probably not living here, but as a foreigner, is the functional dysfunction that it has, very much like Asia. They have all this stuff that was built in the past that's just hanging on for dear life until one thing happens that it falls over and then they never use it again, which I guess is a good way to do it. You know, it's not the German style, but it is a style nonetheless. So I think the only thing left to do now is order some local food at an ethno restaurant, eat some things fresh off the grill, and tell you about why you should come to southern Serbia. Our food is here, and it's pretty glorious. So, we have the pork back. It's actually smoked and then grilled. It smells awesome. They do the charcoal here too. Grilled pepper, fries, the ever-present shopska salad. It should just be tomatoes, cucumbers, and then grated cheese on top, kind of as the sauce. And then the ever-present lepinja. Beautiful. There you go. It's glistening. We like things that glisten. Beautiful. Serbia is truly all about grilled meats. If you're a grilled meat guy, Serbia is the place for you. Every place you go that's traditional, they have a roasted meat menu where you can get maybe like 10 different things off the grill. Pretty good price, never more than like $6. Always comes with fries. You gotta order the salad on the side. They don't always tell you that. These peppers here can either be really spicy or not spicy at all. I'm very curious to see what happens. Starts sweet. Ooh, and then it gets very spicy. And of course, the shopska salad. You can call it basically anything here in the Balkans. It's gonna be like this everywhere you go. It's really nice. And the cheese, when it's grated like this, kind of melts into some sort of dressing. It's nice. That's just right. So my friends, that is life in a small, pretty local city here in southern Serbia. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know I did. So if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. We've got lots of stuff coming from Serbia, so stay tuned. Back to Belgrade and then to the north. I love Serbia. We're gonna keep doing it. Hvala for watching and živeli. A funny little story about why this city has such beautiful buildings actually throughout it, and why it's actually, I would say, a lot bigger and a little bit more regal than I was expecting, was because in the early 1900s, Leskovac was known as Little Manchester because it was the second largest textile producing city in the entirety of Europe, which is quite incredible. All from right here, old Leskovac.